Hey guys, Tarke here, and let's do a quick rundown of the lightning trap setup I'll be running in my hardcore private league starting on Friday. Why lightning trap? It's pretty, I like it a lot, it's one of my favorite archetypes, and I've come up with two setups which I can highly recommend to everyone. I've done a test run version, went through it, and had zero issues all the way through. We got it to 82 in a complete hardcore SSF setup. We had zero close calls the entire way through leveling. I did actually rip during a lab trial. Some people would say I ate 20 spike traps to the face, but those people would be correct. That was more of a me problem than a build problem. And yeah, having tested it out with absolutely nothing, I can highly recommend this for a hardcore league start scenario. This is for the point of view of 3.9. Maybe this will be the same going next league. This is purely just for my private league, which is about to be starting up. So, what are the two different setups, and how would I recommend building Lightning Trap? I've done one tree, which is Mind Over Matter, no acro, phase acro, and then I've done another tree, which is acro, phase acro, also Mind Over Matter. The reason why I've gone Mind Over Matter, with the nerf to Skitterbots, I don't think it's really worth running on Lightning Trap, since they've nerfed the shock chance, and you'll reliably be shocking with Lightning Trap anyway. So at that point, the auras you'd want to be running would be something like Wrath or Zealotry. You could go for the Aura Reservation route, run both potentially, but I would rather just have the much tankier build with lower investment. Obviously, you could go low life, CI, further down the line, either option, but whatever. For a league start, these are the two setups I'd recommend. So I've done a little like breakdown of the strengths and weaknesses of each setup, why you'd pick one over the other, and just also have given example gear options for both. So the armor version has 9k EHP, it's got like 7k life, 2k mana. It's got 4k armor without flasks, 14.3k armor with a granite of iron skin, which gives you a very big Vol Molten Shell, which is very powerful this league. 3% max res through the Arms Shield, and 8% of damage gained as mana through Battle Rouse on the tree here. Now this is a mod you can actually craft on rings and amulets. I'm not using an Essence Worm in my build, so you can get 6% on rings and amulets. That's 6, 12, 18. So you can get 18% anyway, but that is a unveil craft, so you won't have for a little while. So getting it naturally on the tree is very strong, and just stacking as much of it as possible is just very nice mana sustain, which is very good for a Mind Over Matter build. The acro version has 8k EHP, being 6k life, 2k mana, 40% dodge, 46% spell dodge, 5% damage reduction. This is from Silent Steps. This also stacks with the 10% we get from Born in the Shadows, which is very strong. It runs a Wise Oak instead of a Granite Flask. This gives you more damage, and it does also give you nice defense as well if you can balance all of your resistances. 75% block if you haven't been hit recently. I would actually run Mistwall, which is a new unique shield, which we'll talk about a bit later, which came out this patch. The thing which is important about it though is if you haven't been hit recently, it gives you max block. Because of the wording, even though acro reduces your block chance, because the shield gives you max block, you still have the 75%, so it's very strong. It also has a 15 cost lightning trap through some reduced mana cost stacking that happens. So why would you play one build over the other? So this first version is the tankier option if you can guarantee Vol Molten Shell uptime. Basically, you press it when you need to have tankiness. Big Scary Metamorph, press Vol Molten Shell beforehand. The second option is all passive defense. I'm going to play the second option because I stream, and whenever I stream, I'm distracted. Having defense which requires zero input from the player is generally a good thing because it's more consistent if you're stupid. I am both of those things, stupid and a streamer. So yeah, I like going for setups which require less input from me, and it makes it feel more consistent. Even though dodge and acro people say is inconsistent, I find it more consistent than going for this setup. One thing you can also do with the Vol Molten Shell setup, which can get you killed, if you press Vol Molten Shell before you press your Granite Flask, just out of like force of habit or you fluff, then you are very, very screwed. But anyway, let's talk about the two different gear options. So there'll be links to all of this down below. I have also done the leveling trees for this, so you can follow it completely along and have absolutely zero issues. We'll start off with the acro phase acro tree because that is the one I'll be playing, and there's also two different gear setups you can swap in between and part of the building. So the unique that I'm using on both builds is Lightning Coil. I think Lightning Coil is very underrated. It's also very cheap, which means it's nice to double corrupt, and corruptions is very strong on trap builds because traps count as duration skills, so the +2 to duration stuff, which is often like a bricked mod, is actually very good. Also, Lightning Trap is a projectile, so +2 projectile is also very strong. Anyway. The main thing you want from it is 30% of physical damage taken as lightning damage. You use this on the armor stacking version as well because it's good for both armor and acro-based builds. So it's good for the acro-based build because acro builds have very low physical mitigation. By just straight up converting how much physical damage we take into elemental damage and then mitigating our elemental damage through resistances and stuff like Wiseoak is very powerful. You can stack this with a helmet with 10% of fizz taken as elemental damage. So before anything, we have 40% of physical damage taken as elemental damage. We then have 10% damage reduction from Born in the Shadows, and we have 5% from Silent Steps. This is before a Basalt Floss, this is before stuff like Fortify, so you end up with a very tanky setup. We have layers of avoidance through Blind, Dodge, Spell Dodge, and then Missile giving us the block cap. While we have Phasing, we also get an additional 50% chance to avoid elemental damage from hits, which is just like more elemental dodge, basically. Very, very strong. It's Zero Step on the acro version to get more spell dodge. It's also worth noting, this is true of both builds, that boot enchants are very powerful on trappers. There are 3 boot enchants you would want. Lightning damage if you haven't killed recently, elemental penetration if you haven't killed recently, and 120% crit chance if you haven't crit recently. The lightning damage and the pen are more consistent because they require you to have not killed recently. Lightning Trap, killing an enemy, doesn't count as you killing an enemy. Both of these builds want to use Wave of Conviction though, either in a trigger weapon or on a cast and damage taken or on a self-cast to debuff enemy resistances. So if you have the crit enchant on your boots, but then your Wave of Conviction trigger setup then crits, you lose the damage there. So yeah, I would avoid the crit enchant, and if you're going for the crit enchant, maybe don't run any like spell-based triggers, which lowers your damage because Wave of Conviction lowers enemy resistances. So go for the flat lightning damage or the penetration. Mist Wall, as previously mentioned, for the acro version, and Wiseoak. For the armor setup, we use a Lightning Coil and an Arms Heritage. Everything else is just rare items all the way through. There are other uniques you can use, but we're just going for a super budget option. All of these uniques you can get very early on and are very affordable. For weapons, you can use wands, daggers, or scepters, all work. You're looking for spell damage, crit chance of spells, and then just some flat damage, which you can craft. Other mods you can go for, like non-chaos as chaos, plus level of lightning gems, etc., but you're just looking for a decent starting weapon. Life, mana, everywhere else. Nothing that fancy. On your amulet, you'd be looking for life, crit multi, crafted, damage taken, gained as mana over 4 seconds. Also on your rings, you want that crafted, mana, damage taken over 4 seconds. On your belt, you can craft trap throwing speed, which is very nice. And on your abyssal jewels, try and get some flat cold damage to spells. This will help you shatter enemies. You can also run the added cold damage gem to more consistently shatter enemies. On jewels, you want life, trap throwing speed, and any damage mod, increased damage, spell damage, crit multi, whatever. Doesn't really matter. And yeah, those are basically the 2 options you have to flirt between. On both of them, you want to anoint Master Sapper. Master Sapper is very powerful because it gives you trap damage, trap trigger AoE, can lay 2 additional traps, and chance to generate frenzy charges. Until you get Master Sapper, you can run charge traps. Charge traps give you frenzy charge generation, trap throwing speed, and crit multi. So it's very, very strong. We generate frenzy charges through either charge trap or Master Sapper, and we generate power charges through Blast Cascade. When it comes to what points you want to take, you can drop Chain Reaction and take Explosive Expert. Explosive Expert is a lot of damage. Like, it is a lot of damage. However, having played a lot of trap builds since they buffed Explosive Expert, I generally prefer the consistency of Chain Reaction. Having all of your traps reliably trigger is very big DPS. Also, since we use Flamethrower Trap as our main single target, the increased cooldown recovery is very strong there. Having the increased AoE also makes Flamethrower Trap or Lightning Spire Trap more consistent. There's also AoE on Explosive Expert, but anyway. I like Chain Reaction. You can drop it and run Explosive Expert instead for more damage. Going into links and all that good stuff. Also, just one thing worth noting, if you don't like lightning trap and you'd rather run fire trap, explosive trap, or ice trap, drop these 3 nodes and then take the AoE nodes. It's really straightforward. It's not that complicated. But anyway, lightning traps, cluster traps, lightning penetration, controlled destruction, trap and mine damage, inspiration. If you had more green gems that you had to use because you're using like a off-color chest or whatever, options are you can run Pierce. Pierce is still 20% more damage link, and it gives you 4 additional Pierce, which is very strong when it comes to clear. You'd have 2 from the tree, 4 from the gem. You can also craft Pierce on helmet and gloves. So that gives you 8. You can also get 1 from a jewel, but anyway. You can run Hypothermia if you're running Skitterbots. I've told you why I wouldn't run it, but if you want to run it, you can run Hypothermia, and I would recommend running Hypothermia if you are running Skitterbots. You could run a level 4 Empower, but don't do that. Don't do that. For Flamethrower Trap for links, I'd recommend Flamethrower Trap, Trap and Mine Damage, Combustion, Inspiration. You can also stack Combustion and Fire Pen is very strong together. I don't like running Conk Effect on Flamethrower Trap. You limit your single target capabilities. With Flamethrower Trap, you also want to aim it so the center of the Flamethrower Trap is on the middle of the enemy. So if Nico was the boss, aim it bang in the middle, so when they erupt, they'll spin, they'll do the little cartwheel. Flamethrower Trap can hit the boss 10 times a second. So if they're stood in the middle, they get hit by all 4 beams. So they hit the cap very quickly. If they're moving and they're only being hit by 1 flame on the edge, that's when having car speed scaling is nice, because the more car speed, the faster it rotates. Something to maybe consider. Flame Dash, Arcane Surge, either manual cast Steel Skin or cast Damage Taken Steel Skin. Use Vol Molten Shell on the armor setup. Have a bear trap that you just throw. Then for Vol skills, you can run Vol Grace, Vol Righteous Fire, or Vol Molten Shell. You can run Enduring Cry. You can also run Rallying Cry. Then a triggered cast and damage taken level 1, low level Wave of Conviction. If you have a high level Wave of Conviction, you could kill yourself to Reflect. Run an Enfeeble in there. If you don't have any weak curse on hit, I don't. I'm going for Enfeeble because I want to be defensive. Level 7 Clarity, level 1 Precision, just because we don't want to use up much mana reservation. I've explained why earlier. And level 7 Clarity is the most efficient. If you want to use Fire Trap, you could use links, something kind of like that. I would probably run Fire Pen instead of Controlled Destruction in those links though. And then if you wanted to run Lightning Spire Trap, you could run Lightning Spire Trap instead of Flamethrower Trap. I prefer Flamethrower Trap. I find it more consistent and it's just nicer, in my opinion. Do whatever you want. If you don't want to run Lightning Coil, Shard of the Lightless, Cloak of Defiance are both very good options. You can also just use a crafted rare chest with spell crit and % life. But anyway, I've spoken way too much. Links to everything are down below. Again, it's got early leveling setups that you can follow along to. If you have any questions about this build or any other trap-based build, please do let me know. If you've come up with any super tanky trap trees, also let me know. Links to my private leagues will be down below. Have a good day. This is what uploading video looks like, by the way. Bye-bye.